Craig, let's talk about this. When Tesla writes a letter, who signs it? Who's it from?
It's a great question, and in this case, nobody. So I think the Financial Times was first to report on this letter, which we should give them credit for, and they happened to quote someone anonymously saying that the reason that this letter was unsigned was that nobody wanted to get fired for sending this. This may sound a bit alarmist, and of course Elon Musk talks about his belief in free speech, but that being said, we have seen instances in the past where people internally who have written letters that could be perceived as contradicting him or criticizing him have lost their jobs, and so that is of course it seems like a valid concern in this case.
In a move that has sent shockwaves through both the political and business worlds, explosive new developments suggest that Elon Musk, the titan of technology and electric vehicles, may be turning against the very administration he once called ally. Today, we examine how Tesla's stark warnings about crippling tariffs have uncovered a deception at the heart of the U.S. trade war, and whether Musk's actions amount to a backstab against President Trump. Over the past several months, trade tensions have escalated, and markets have been rocked by protectionist policies. At the center of the controversy is a letter, unsigned but unmistakably coming from within Tesla, that warned U.S. exporters, including Tesla itself, of disproportionate impacts from retaliatory tariffs. This message, sent to the U.S. Trade Representative, paints a dire picture of the economic fallout from the Trump administration's aggressive trade policies. But beyond the business implications, this letter hints at a deeper betrayal. As we dig into the details, it becomes increasingly clear that the tariff warning is not just a cautionary note. It could be the signal of a major shift in the political alliances that have defined American trade and economic policy over the past year. In today's report, we're going to break down exactly what happened, examine the political and economic context behind these decisions, and analyze the potential fallout of this dramatic turn of events. We'll explore how tariffs, trade wars, and high-stakes geopolitical maneuvering have created a scenario where loyalty is in question and the trusted lines between government and business appear to be crumbling. This is not just a story about economic policy or corporate strategy. It's a story of power, betrayal, and the high price of political expediency. To understand the gravity of today's revelations, we must first look at the broader context. Over the last year, the U.S. trade war has intensified. The Trump administration's decision to impose tariffs on steel, aluminum, and other key imports was intended to protect American jobs and industry. However, these moves have had unintended consequences, triggering retaliatory tariffs from countries like Canada, Mexico, and even members of the European Union. In many sectors, the cost of doing business has soared, and uncertainty has taken a toll on investment, production, and market confidence. The U.S. stock market has not been immune to these shifts. Since the imposition of tariffs, we have seen major indices plunge, with some falling into correction territory, a stark reminder of the volatile intersection between economic policy and market sentiment. In this environment, companies across industries have had to rethink their supply chains and production strategies. For Tesla, whose supply chain spans the globe, the risk of increased tariffs is particularly acute. The potential for a trade war to upset these networks and drive up production costs has made Tesla increasingly vocal in its criticism of current trade practices. The centerpiece of this unfolding drama is the unsigned letter sent by Tesla to the U.S. Trade Representative. In this document, Tesla warned that retaliatory tariffs, if enacted, would have a disproportionate impact on U.S. manufacturers. The language used in the letter is measured yet firm. It acknowledges that while the company supports fair trade, it is deeply concerned about the unintended consequences of current policy decisions. The letter specifically highlighted that past U.S. trade actions had resulted in immediate retaliatory measures, such as increased tariffs on imported electric vehicles, and warned that a similar outcome could follow if tariffs on metals and other components were further ramped up. The implications of this letter are significant. Not only does it signal that Tesla is bracing for economic headwinds, but it also suggests that the company is distancing itself from the administration's narrative. For a company whose CEO, Elon Musk, has been a staunch supporter of President Trump in the past, this warning is nothing short of a wake-up call. It raises critical questions. Has Musk changed his stance? And if so, is this move a calculated pivot? Or does it signal a broader discontent within influential American businesses with the current trade policies? At first glance, the warning from Tesla appears to be a business decision, a necessary step to protect the company's interests amid growing international trade tensions. However, when you consider the broader political landscape, a more controversial picture emerges. Elon Musk's close ties to President Trump have long been a subject of public scrutiny. Musk has been one of the most prominent business figures to publicly praise the Trump administration, even accepting a role in the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. This department was tasked with reducing federal spending by slashing government jobs, a move that has been both celebrated and criticized across the political spectrum. But today's developments suggest a rift is forming. The language of the tariff warning implies that Musk's Tesla is not just concerned with business logistics, it is also critical of policies that may be undermining American manufacturing and economic stability. Critics argue that by highlighting the potential for tariffs to hurt domestic producers, Musk is effectively calling into question the efficacy of Trump's protectionist policies. In other words, the very measures that were supposed to fortify American industry might instead be sowing the seeds of its downfall. This raises a provocative question. Is Musk's warning a genuine concern for the future of American manufacturing, or is it a calculated maneuver designed to undermine a political ally? Let's delve into the economic mechanics at work. The Trump administration's tariff policies were designed to level the playing field for American manufacturers by making imported goods more expensive. However, in practice, these tariffs have disrupted complex global supply chains. Tesla, like many companies, relies on a network of suppliers from around the world to produce its electric vehicles and batteries. By imposing tariffs on raw materials such as metals, the administration has inadvertently raised costs for companies that are striving to maintain competitive production processes. Tesla's letter underscores this point. It warns that even aggressive localization of the supply chain may not fully insulate U.S. manufacturers from the repercussions of a retaliatory tariff cycle. Certain critical components simply cannot be sourced domestically, meaning that increased import costs will inevitably drive up overall production expenses. For a company like Tesla, which has already seen its share price drop significantly due to broader market concerns and production challenges, this warning is a serious red flag. It signals not only a potential hit to its bottom line, but also broader implications for the U.S. automotive industry and other sectors that rely on imported materials. The ramifications of these developments extend far beyond the walls of boardrooms and the floors of stock exchanges. They strike at the heart of U.S. trade policy and its impact on global geopolitical dynamics. The imposition of tariffs is not merely an economic tool. It is also a geopolitical weapon. By using tariffs to pressure trading partners, the Trump administration sought to renegotiate trade agreements and protect American industries. But as countries like Canada, Mexico, and members of the European Union mount retaliatory measures, the resulting trade war becomes a tit-for-tat battle that destabilizes international markets. In this volatile environment, Tesla's warning takes on additional significance. It suggests that the costs of this trade war are being borne not only by consumers in the form of higher prices, but also by American companies that are caught in the crossfire of international politics. The global nature of supply chains means that disruptions in one part of the world can have a domino effect on production and profitability across multiple sectors. In this sense, Tesla's letter is a microcosm of a much larger problem: the challenge of balancing national interests with the realities of a globalized economy. The title of today's report poses a question that is as controversial as it is compelling. Elon Musk backstabs Trump? This provocative claim stems from the growing perception that Musk is no longer the loyal Trump ally he once appeared to be. When Musk's company warns that the administration's tariff policies could devastate domestic industry, it sends a clear message of dissent. Such a stance is hard to reconcile with the earlier alignment between Musk and Trump, particularly given Musk's public support for the president in the past. Analysts have noted that this is not the first time business leaders have turned against political figures when economic interests are at stake. In many ways, Tesla's move reflects a broader trend of influential companies re-evaluating their relationships with political powers. The potential backstab is not simply a personal or corporate vendetta. It is a response to policies that, in the eyes of many executives, are fundamentally flawed. When the cost of protectionism outweighs its benefits, the corporate world tends to speak up, even if that means challenging a long-standing political ally. Adding another layer of complexity to the story are the internal conflicts within the Trump administration itself. Reports have emerged of tensions between Elon Musk and top officials over his aggressive cost-cutting measures at the Department of Government Efficiency. While some insiders describe these internal debates as productive discussions aimed at streamlining government operations, others see them as evidence of a growing rift. When top cabinet members express concerns over layoffs and the targeting of critical agencies, it becomes clear that there is significant disagreement over how best to implement policy changes. In one reported instance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was mentioned as having a disagreement with Musk's methods, with Trump himself dismissing the clash as mere troublemaking. However, these denials have done little to quiet the speculation. Critics argue that by downplaying these conflicts, the administration is attempting to cover up deeper strategic flaws. For Musk, the decision to highlight the risks of tariffs, and by extension the dangers of unchecked trade policies, could be seen as a way of distancing himself from the administration's more controversial decisions. In doing so, he may be positioning himself as not only a savvy businessman, but also as a principled critic of policies that threaten the long-term stability of American industry. Now, let's address the central allegation. Is Elon Musk really backstabbing President Trump? To unpack this claim, we need to examine the motivations behind Musk's actions. Historically, Musk has been an outspoken supporter of Trump, praising the president's commitment to reducing the size of government and creating a business-friendly environment. His public statements and his role in the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency underscored a period when Musk and Trump seemed to be working in tandem. However, the dynamics of political alliances are rarely static. When policies begin to threaten the very companies that have benefited from a close relationship, even the most loyal allies can find themselves at a crossroads. By issuing a stark warning about the impacts of tariffs, Tesla is effectively highlighting a critical flaw in the administration's economic strategy. For Musk, this may not be an act of personal betrayal, but a necessary intervention to protect his company's long-term interests, and by extension, the broader American manufacturing base. Critics of the administration have seized on this moment as evidence that the trade war is undermining not only the economy, but also the alliances that underpin it. They argue that Musk's decision to speak out against tariffs is emblematic of a growing disillusionment among America's business leaders, who increasingly see the costs of protectionism as outweighing its benefits. Whether or not this constitutes backstabbing is a matter of perspective. For some, it is a calculated move by a visionary leader to correct a course that is steering the nation toward economic peril. For others, it represents a betrayal of political loyalty in a time of crisis. The debate over tariffs and trade policy is far from over. As nations around the world grapple with similar challenges, balancing domestic interests with the demands of global commerce, the United States stands at a crossroads. On one hand, the administration's aggressive stance on tariffs was designed to send a strong message to trading partners. American industry will be protected at all costs. On the other hand, the backlash from key industry players, exemplified by Tesla's warning, suggests that this approach may be more damaging than beneficial. In the global arena, the fallout from this trade war is being closely monitored by other nations. Countries in the European Union, Asia, and beyond are weighing their responses, with some ready to impose countermeasures that could further escalate the conflict. The resulting uncertainty makes it difficult for multinational corporations to plan for the future, potentially slowing down investments and hindering economic recovery in a post-pandemic world. For the United States, the challenge is to strike a delicate balance. It must protect its domestic industries without alienating its international partners or triggering a full-blown trade war. As the debate continues, influential voices within the business community and political establishment are calling for a more measured approach, one that prioritizes long-term stability over short-term political gains. Tesla's warning, in this light, is a wake-up call for policymakers to reconsider the trajectory of American trade policy and to forge a path that harmonizes national interests with the realities of a globalized economy. In the coming weeks, all eyes will be on how the Trump administration responds to these warnings. Will we see a pivot toward more balanced trade policies that acknowledge the realities of a globalized economy? Or will the administration continue to double down on its current approach, risking further alienation of key industry players and potentially igniting a broader economic crisis? Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video as we will continue to bring you the latest updates and in-depth analysis on this evolving story. Stay with us as we keep you informed on all the developments in this high-stakes clash between corporate giants and political power.